My friends, I'm Pastor Ben Hayes from First Baptist Church, Dadeville, Alabama, bringing you our thought for the day on a very thankful Thursday. I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this church. I'm thankful for this community. And I'm most thankful for God's wonderful grace. And listen, would you share these devotionals on your social media? Every time you get them, share them so that your friends can pick them up. And let's see if we can get the word out to the rest of the world. Okay, that's what we're called to do. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. We're talking about the foolishness of this world. The wisest of men in this world, Paul says, are but foolish in the sight of God. And it takes the wisdom of God to truly know what wisdom is. He says, the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, for it is written, He catches the wise in their own craftiness. People try to figure out their own plans, and we do it all the time. Even as believers, we do it. We say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I mean, I got to be honest with you. July 4th, I've got tickets to an Atlanta Braves game. I'm headed to the Braves. And what I should say is, Lord willing, I'm going to go to see the Braves play on July 4th. Now, that's one of those things that God knows in advance what's going to happen, and He's going to make sure what happens, right? Whether I get to go to the Braves game or not, that's up to Him. But that's the way we are. We make our plans thinking, hey, we're going to get this done. We're going to do this. And I think sometimes God just sits on the throne and says, yeah, make your plans, buddy. I'll show you what's really going to happen. But He catches the wise in their own craftiness. And what He's talking about here is so many people who are plotting against Paul, who are plotting against the church, who are plotting to do these horrible things. Understand, we don't have to worry about all of that. And I know it affects us. It hurts sometimes when people are making plans to bring harm to us or to bring harm to the church. But their craftiness is nothing but foolishness in the eyes of God. He'll take care of them. He always does. Now look what He says. Verse 20, and again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise, that they are futile. Therefore, let no one boast in men, for all things are yours. Now, I'm going to pause there. Understand what He's saying here. We shouldn't be boasting in men. And I said this a couple of weeks ago. It's not about who the pastor is. It's not about who your favorite minister is. It's not about who your favorite preacher is. None of us should boast in men. I shouldn't boast in myself. You shouldn't boast in me. It's not about that, because it's all about God. He's the one we should boast in. If we're going to glory in something, we need to glory in the Lord. If we're going to brag about somebody, we ought to be bragging about God. This is what God is doing in my life. This is what God is doing in His church. Don't boast in men. Now, our temptation is to line people up and say, well, he's the best preacher. He's okay. He's not so much, right? Paul says, don't do that. He says, for all things are yours, whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas or the world or life or death or things present or things to come, all are yours, and you are Christ's, and Christ is God's. Here's what he's saying here. God has given to us these different ministers of the gospel to help us. See, there are some pastors who are more evangelists, and they bring lost people in. There are some pastors who are more disciplers, who grow those new Christians into the mature Christians they ought to be. Some pastors are builders of the church, and it's all dependent on their different gifts as a teacher, as a leader, whatever it might be. And God says, I've given you all of these for your benefit. They all come together to play in this wonderful place called the church, so that the church can be what God has called it to be. He said, I've given you the world, I've given you life, death. He said, things present, things to come, all of that's yours. But here's the most important thing. You're Christ's, and Christ is God's. We belong to Jesus. Jesus belongs to God. And because of that, He's got everything under control. He's placed all these things before us, and what we need to do is just focus on His will for our lives. Do what He's called us to do. Be the Christian men that He's called us to be. The Christian women He's called us to be. One of the most important things in life is to figure out what God's purpose is for you, for your life. God may be calling you to be a garbage man. He may be calling you to be president of the United States. Listen, regardless of your calling, there's no greater place to find peace and happiness than to discover your purpose in Christ Jesus. And that's the thing that we so often lose sight of. We want to be something different. We want to be something that we consider to be better. But what God's plan for us is actually the best thing for us. That's where you'll find joy, no matter what it is. Think about that today. Be blessed, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.